For 12 hard-fought episodes, India's finest, best young quizzing brains have gone head-to-head, brain cell to brain cell, and here we are today. Welcome everyone to the grand finale of the ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth. This is the Super Cup match. At the end of this episode, we will find out who the grand winner is. Which of the 6 franchisees is going to take home all the honors? As you know, 6 teams battled it out in the league stage, and we're down to the top 4 competing in the Super Cup today. These 4 teams will go head to head. There is a slight change in rules. It's going to be the same rounds, of course, but because we're playing with 4 teams, there is a slight difference. In the league stages, each of the franchises was represented by a single player. Today, each franchise will be represented by 4 players, 1 for each round. So it's going to be something like a relay race. Each round will rest upon the shoulders of a different teammate from the franchise. And of course, the scores will keep piling up until we find out at the end who will go home champion. Without further ado, let me introduce to you my partner and colleague throughout the ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth. Hello, Shamanai. Are you ready to crown the grand champion?
Yes, hello Dhruv. Well, quite a dizzy feeling, as you know. Well, the Super Cup it is, and the league is finally coming to a close. Some of the finest quizzers, some fiercest quizzing battles, right from the comfort of their homes. What a brilliant display of wits and overall coming up with some brilliant answers did we just witness in all these days. Without further ado, let's move ahead to the league standing. Dhruv, please do the honors and let's see which are the top 4 teams that will be playing.
All right, for most of the league stage, we saw the battle between the Bengaluru Aces and the Kolkata Wizards, up, down, and finally it ends with the Bengaluru Aces leading the pack, 48 points. Just 1 point behind them are the Kolkata Wizards with 47 points, the Brainiacs with 45, and the Chennai Erudites with 42. However, these scores and these total points will play no further role unless, of course, we come to a crucial form of tie-break. For today, it's just going to be the scores of this episode that will decide the grand winner. Without further ado, let's meet the 4 contestants who are going to play round 1 of the Super Cup. The Chennai Erudites will be represented by Sagar Agarwal, the Kolkata Wizards by Pratyush Singhal, the Delhi Brainiacs by Arnav Mondal, and the Bengaluru Aces by Ujan Sen. All 4 have been part of the league stage at different points, and here they are today once again in the final. Shabanai, let's take a quick look at the few tweaks we've made to the format of round 1.
All right, round 1, of course, has been knives out throughout, and it is in the Super Cup as well. But we have 8 questions this time instead of 6. This round moves clockwise, which is very important. There are 2 directs overall for each team. 4 teams, 2 directs makes 8 questions. 3 clues per question. This has been as usual. But the scoring has slightly changed. It has been a 200 in the first clue, plus 150 in the second clue, and plus 100 in the third clue. And for a pass, that's flat plus 100. But with some of the best quizzers overall in terms of scores in playing in this match, we hardly know which one is going to pass, which one is going to be answered. Nonetheless, we will take a look. The 4 participants, the order of the teams they're going to represent was decided through a lottery in presence of a team, a randomizer. So Chennai Erudites is the one who will be facing the first question. So let's take a look at the first clue of Super Cup, the Battle of the Youth 2021. For Chennai Erudites, here it comes.
A landlocked country, I have few natural resources, a terrain unfit for inexpensive infrastructure, and no cheap labor, but a GDP per capita of over $80,000 US.
Yes, all right. This is a question from geography, but let's see if Sagar has a guess for it.
Is it Tuvalu?
He says Tuvalu. That's incorrect. Tuvalu, of course, would be the very opposite of landlocked, but let's not be too harsh today. A lot of pressure on them. Second clue, not just exports of pharmaceuticals and agricultural products. I'm also associated with quality products created with attention to detail and craftsmanship. Well-framed question. He just has to put it all together.
Next clue.
All right. We're going for the third clue. Now it's worth 100 points. My economy started to clock high growth around World War II by banking on impartiality and later offering certain parking spaces for the well-heeled.
Switzerland.
Finally, he puts all the clues together. This is, of course, Switzerland, Shaman. Might have got it with the second clue itself, but took him an extra clue. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, certainly 100 points nonetheless. Well, Dhruv, do you have any Swiss bank account or what?
The whole point is you're not supposed to say. You're always supposed to say no. No to Switzerland, no to Cayman, no to Panama.
All right, conspicuous by its absence, but nonetheless, we will take a look at the Kolkata Wizards now. The first few of the Wizards coming up on the screen now.
Born in 1760, I made my reputation making woodblock prints of stage actors, but moved away to landscapes and images of daily life. Sometimes there's just one word.
I'll say Vincent van Gogh.
He says Vincent van Gogh. Incorrect. Like I said, sometimes just one word should give everything away. He hasn't latched onto it. Clue number 2. I was known for a personal spiritual obsession with a sacred entity that had last shown any signs of activity 53 years before my birth.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain, he says. Incorrect again for 100 points now. The third clue. My most popular artwork shows the imminent engulfing of 3 fishing boats and makes great use of cheaply available Prussian blue. Should be a sitter now.
Hokusai.
And he does get it as a sitter. 100 points. Hokusai. He'll probably be kicking himself for not having got it earlier, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, quite a uniform start to the quiz. Let's take a look at Arnab's first direct.
All right. Arnab, of course, with what is now a signature pose, leaning forward, arms crossed. Apart from emperor penguins, I'm the only bird with the ability to produce special secretions to feed my chicks.
How do I? Okay. I'll say hummingbirds.
Unfortunately, is incorrect. Goes now for 150 points. My curved bill is a unique structure that filters algae and small crustaceans out of the water.
Is this the pelican?
For 100 points now. The filtered food contains carotenoids, and over the years, it accumulates in my skin and gives me my unique appearance.
So flamingos then.
And finally, we have the answer once again for 100 points. Flamingo. I think Shamana Ornabonal can lay claim to the nicest smile, the most winning smile of all the participants in the Super Cup.
Indeed. He's a very cool and calm guy otherwise, and a very good quizzer. Okay, let's take a look at Ujjan's question. Ujjan has been an absolute super player in the league stage of the game. Let's see if he can hold on to his form in the Super Cup here, in the all-important Super Cup. Ujjan's first clue coming up on the screen now.
A shamanist believing in the spirits of nature and my ancestors, I believe that the sky god Tengeri wanted me to conquer the entire world in his name. Ujjan, the most well-lit of the contestants today. Let's see if the light bulb goes off in his head for 200 points.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Now for 150 points. Born as Temujin, I distributed spoils evenly among my soldiers and scattered the nomads I conquered among them so they couldn't join together against me. Again, it comes down to one word.
I'll say Robin Hood.
Not Robin Hood. He hasn't caught on to that word as yet. I was responsible for the largest contiguous land empire in history, stretching from Korea to Ukraine and from Siberia to southern China.
I'll say Genghis Khan.
Of course, you'll say Genghis Khan. It is the right answer. And we have these little hints from when I throw out. Wood blocks, Temujin, little keywords that direct you to the answer if you can latch onto them.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, being lone wolf quizzers and representing their teams in such a tense atmosphere is no easy feat. So, of course, we need to help them as much as possible so that they can get the points here. These. Okay, so the scoreboard after the first half of the round looks nice and clear, all around 100 points. So we go back to Sagar Agarwal once again. This is his second direct of this round. Let's take a look at the first clue of his second direct.
Although in the 15th century, these were sent by dressmakers to wealthy customers, the word originates from French, as this is where these were developed in the 19th century. This is the final, so of course, there will be much more pressure. You expect that?
Are these buttons?
Not buttons. For 150 points during the 1950s, these were used in nuclear tests to help show the effects of nuclear weapons on humans, with J.C. Penney stores in Nevada displaying them before and after a blast. Remember, these pass, unlike in the League stages of round 1.
I'll pass. Next clue.
They will, of course, pass after the third clue. In July 2021, these have been banned in the northern Nigerian state of Kano because they violate Islamic teachings by causing immoral thoughts.
Is this champagne?
Champagne is incorrect, and we have our first pass in the first round. 100 points to the Wizards.
Mannequins.
And they don't miss it. 100 points on offer and 100 points they take. This is, of course, the mannequins that you see in storefronts. Good steal there by Pratyush of the Wizards, 100 points. And now we have a direct for him. So a chance for the Wizards to really get their nose ahead in the first round. Let's take a look at the first clue for Pratyush and the Wizards. In the 1950s, my PhD advisor and I at the Imperial College London weren't even thinking about communications technology, but trying to improve endoscopy imaging.
I'll take a clue.
Goes for a clue, 150 points now. Thanks to the light shed by Charles Kao in the 1960s, my conceptual advances paved the way for the modern internet.
I'll say windsurf.
Passes now for 100 points to the third clue. In 2009, Kao was awarded half of the Nobel Prize in Physics for his contribution, but I, an Agra University graduate, was never recognized as widely.
Narinder Singh Kapani. Because optic fibers and all that.
He didn't want to pass this. The Wizards have indeed got points on their own question. 100, but 100 is precious at this point. Superb answer there, Shaman.
Yeah, perfect. And he goes on to a sweet lead with that. This was indeed Narinder Kapani, and an unsung hero of Indian science. Nonetheless, we move to Arnab's second direct now. Let's take a look at the first clue for Arnab.
Born in 1831 and belonging to the Mali community, I was married to the light of my life at age 9.
I'll go for 1831. Jahangir.
That sweet smile, he says Jahangir, is incorrect. For 150 points, I sparked a barber strike in Mumbai and Pune to protest the shaving of widows' heads and set up a home for the prevention of infanticide.
Oh, this is Phule.
He says Phule, we need a bit more of a specific answer.
Jyotirbai Phule, probably full number.
Jyotirbao Phule, incorrect for 100 points now. The third clue, the very first female teacher and headmistress of India. I also set up the Mahila Seva Mandal for women across classes, castes, and religions.
Savitribai Phule.
Now he gets the right Phule. The clue was in the third one. This is, of course, Savitribai Phule. And Arnab takes the Brainiacs to 200 points. Good answer there, Shaman.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, he must be kicking himself for getting the wrong Phule. And of course, Jyotira Phule was her husband, the light that was being referenced in the first view. All right, we move to the last and final question for the round. This will go to Ujan. Let's take a look at Ujan's first clue.
I reached India after 2 years of retrofitting in 2020 and can be used currently by 3 people from Vadnagar, Paruk, and Chavatapalam, respectively. Remember, this is a general quiz in the finals. So we're going to see questions from all the 12 topics that have been covered in the league stage. You don't know which one is going to come your way at which point. Can the aces get 200 points?
I'll take a clue.
Not in this question. He's gone for 150 points. The second clue on screen now. A 777-300 ER, I became a part of the Maharaja's fleet in 2018 for a hefty price of rupees 4,632 crore before moving under the aegis of RKS Bhadoria. So he's understood. what sort of an answer it is. Let's see if he zeroes in on it.
I'll take a look.
For 100 points, he's gone for the third clue. Capable of going for the long haul without refueling. I also have missile sensors, a press briefing room, and secure video telephony and soundproofing. You can tell he knows what it is, but not what it's called.
This is cannot recall the proper noun. Pass.
Passes to Chennai now for 100 points.
So this is the Air Force One, the Air India plane used by Narendra Modi and Ramnath Kovind. Their plane, like this is the Indian version of the Air Force One, used by Air India.
He almost slipped up there by saying Air Force One, which is of course the US plane, but he managed to throw in enough trivia and enough knowledge to ensure that...
I said Air Force One, yeah. Air India, Air Force One.
I think that's good enough. He's going to get the points there. This is, of course, Air India 1. Come on, a little bit of a hiccup there, but he gets his 100 points.
Absolutely, very well explained too, and his concept was clear, but nonetheless. All right, okay, that was the second pass. He slipped up on his direct, but he got a very, very good pass to finish on 200. All right, Dhruv, after the end of first round, let's take a look at the scores.
All right, we bid goodbye to these four contestants. Sagar, Arnab, Prityush, Ujan. They'll play no further part in the finals. They've laid the foundation for the next three teammates to come along. All right, as things stand right now, the Chennai Erudites are on 200 points. The Kolkata Wizards are on 300 points. The Delhi Brainiacs are also on 200 points. And the Bengaluru Aces trail by 100 points. Remember, of course, it's a very cruel game, the finals, because you don't have a chance to make up for a particular round. If you end up coming last in a round, somebody else has to fill in your shoes. But then again, that cruelty is part of the scale of something like the finale. You expect the best quizzers to be able to take that in their stride. Shamana, let's take a look at how round 2 will play out in the Super Cup.
Round 2, lock and load, an extension of the league stage, but once again, instead of 6 questions, we have 8 questions which will move clockwise. Instead of 1 direct, there will be 2 directs for each team. Differential passing, well, a direct question can fetch you 100 points, but when it starts to pass, so it piles on 50 points as it goes along. So the fourth person can potentially reckon a 250 points on a single question. So it's not as cruel as 350 points, but nonetheless, it has got enough elements to change the quiz. Now we will take a look at the next set of contestants who will be representing these 4 teams respectively. Well, Dhruv, please do the honors.
All right, the Erudites will now be represented by Shayan Mojumdar, who of course put in a brilliant performance in the last quiz of the league stage, the mythology quiz. Toyota Patanaik makes a return for the Kolkata Wizards. Partho Dhar, who was there in the very first quiz and is there in the very last one for the Delhi Brainiacs. And Shubhadeep Sarkar, who's given us many memorable images and moments from the league stage, here to try and take his team from 4th position to perhaps 1st position at the end of round 2. Okay, let's begin round 2. The first question, of course, going to the Chennai Erudites and Shayan, coming up on screen now. This is from an interview conducted in the 1970s with BBC's Mahindra Kaul. मैं आपको बताऊं, डैश यानी अलमिया किस्म की कहानी का असर ज्यादा होता है, जैसे लैला मजनू की दास्तां या श्री फरहाद का किस्सा, जहां उसका असर कम का या तकलीफ का होता है। खुशी जल्दी गुजर जाती है। मेरे ख्याल से ये अदाकारी का इंप्रेशन ज्यादा देर तक जाया रहता है। So who is explaining which royal epithet? It'll take a while for the contestants to get their heads around the entire quotation, but once they make sense of it, perhaps we'll see some good guesses.
I would say, is this Mughal-e-Azam movie?
He says Mughal-e-Azam. That is incorrect. So it passes now for 150 points to the Wizards.
This is the director of Mughal-e-Azam, like describing the title of the movie. That was my guess too.
So no new guess offered by the Wizards. We move now to the Brainiacs. Parthodhar.
I'll say Gulzar and Mughal Azam.
Gulzar is incorrect. Everybody's stuck on Mughal Azam. Let's see if Shobhadeep Sarkar has something different.
I'm gonna guess Sahil Ludhianvi and no, passing.
He guesses something different. Well, everybody was sort of in the zone when they said Mughal Azam. Shamana, let's take a look at the answer.
Yes. Well, you had royal epithet in the question, so that was some kind of a tangential clue. And this is something which we quizzing columns call TCQ, typical Chennai question, something to do with recent events. So this is, of course, Dilip Kumar's nickname of Tragedy King is the answer we were looking for. None of the teams quite holding on to it, though it looks like they knew the answer somehow. Happens to the best of us nonetheless. But we move to Kolkata Wizards, the second question of this round, which will be directed to Tuad Patnaik.
All four teams, of course, striking their own versions of the Tragedy King pose unintentionally. Question now direct for the Wizards.
Yeah.
Jaipur houses the headquarters of one of the only two remaining cavalry regiments of the Indian Army, including the 61st Cavalry. This one, along with the other horse unit, continues a colonial tradition of caste-based recruitment from the so-called martial races identified by the British. So you've got the 61st Cavalry Regiment, which is the other one. So we're, of course, looking for the name of one of the two remaining cavalry regiments.
Rajputana Rifles.
Rajputana Rifles is incorrect. Passes to the Brainiacs. Lots and lots of points on offer in this round.
I'll guess Gorkha.
Gorkha is incorrect. Passes to the Aces now for 200 points.
Is this Pathan regiment?
Pathan is also incorrect. 250 points now with the erudites.
Is this are these the Presidential Guards cavalry regiment? Means the cavalry regiment only I could think of is the Presidential Guards apart from Jaipur. So
he did this all throughout the myth and folklore quiz, came up with answers and piled on the big points. Shayan Majumdar does it again. What a brilliant answer. The president's bodyguard, Shamanai. You have to take your hat off and clap for Shayan.
Yeah, absolutely. What a brilliant presence of mind, putting 2 plus 2 together. Shayan, of course, showing his true class here. All right. So we move on to the third question, which will be directed to Parthodhar.
Okay. Question 3 coming up now. This is someone explaining his technique to 442 in 2015, saying, I always struck set pieces on the valve because that's the hardest part and you get more power. What is being talked about? Perhaps the most spectacular live demo of the Magnus effect that defied the divine bald one 24 years ago. Partho looks like he's wearing a football jersey. One can't be sure.
Yeah, I'll say this is a Roberto Carlos free kick.
It doesn't matter if he's wearing it or not. He's wearing his thinking cap. That Roberto Carlos free kick, Shawan Nayak.
Well, I'm sure it is kind of imprinted in all of our minds. It's an unbelievable effort, and the divine bald one is a cheeky reference to Fabian Barthez, was completely flummoxed when Roberto Carlos took this beautiful free kick. Well, Partho getting an important 100 points for his team. We will take a look at Shubhadeep's direct.
Originally written in 28 sections, each of which took about 4 hours to read aloud, it was a groundbreaking work of reportage. Which voluminous text, authored by a Halicarnassus native, is being talked about here, that combined the opsis or eyewitness accounts, echo or hearsay, and ta legomena or tradition?
is this the first history book by Herodotus?
Shubhadeep, of course, is very good at history, as he's already shown. Now he shows he's brilliant at it. This is, of course, Herodotus's Histories, and that's 200 points now for the Aces. They get their 100 points and they get a move on in round 2. Well done.
Well, now we do an encore of the same. So we start with Shayan Majumdar again. Let's see if Shayan can further his slate.
When Mother Teresa passed away on 6 September, around 2.5 decades ago, her death was somewhat overshadowed in the West due to an event that shook the world a week back. It is especially tragic given both Mother Teresa and the other person met multiple times. She even gave the latter a set of rosary beads. This is direct from my school days, Shamunai. What event is being spoken of? I remember the day.
Okay, I'll say this is the death of Princess Diana. Only from the timeline, since 25 years back, and tragic that shook the West.
He may not have been around then, but he definitely gets the answer. The death of Princess Diana. As I was saying, Shamanai, I remember both these days so well. My art teacher was, of course, from the Missionaries of Charity, and he was absolutely shattered when Mother Teresa died. So we remember those days very, very clearly, like they were yesterday.
Well, I was 1 year back then. So nonetheless, we move to Toya. That's the beauty of quizzing. Even if you're not born, you get answers like it happened yesterday.
All right, question 6. Although scientists still don't fully understand why it happens, there are many hypotheses currently being researched. The two physiological explanations deal with a fixed action pattern, creating a domino effect, and the other is known as non-conscious mimicry, a subtle and unintentional copycat maneuver. So quite simply, which boring common form of echo phenomena are we talking about here?
Mexican wave.
Not the Mexican wave. Passes now for 150 points to the brain.
Yeah, this is why yawning is contagious.
This quiz is anything but yawn-inducing, but it does induce a yawn in the answer. Superb answer there by Parthothor. Why is yawning contagious?
Well, quizzing is contagious as well. Let's see if Partho gets his direct now.
All right, 100 points on offer for him. Over the years, cartoons have suggested that these are caused by mice eating through the blocks. Despite a long-held scientific belief, they aren't produced by carbon dioxide emitted by bacteria either. Instead, it all boils down to some dirty buckets. Agroscope, a European government agricultural institute, says they are created by flecks of microscopic hair particles falling into buckets. What exactly is being talked about here?
I think this is the belief that cheese has holes, like large holes, etc.
The longer the question, the shorter the time taken to answer it for some of these people. They're really brilliant and they think on their feet. Say cheese, Delhi Brainiacs, because you've got 100 points and are up to 550 joint at the top. Why does Swiss cheese have holes? Oh, one can barely take one's breath, Shamanai. The pace at which this is going.
Indeed. Well, we thought that Jerry was responsible for this in Tom and Jerry, but now you see we have so many scientific reasons. And all pretty bland as well sometimes. All right, the last and final question for this round. Let's see Shubhadeep's direct.
Delivered by a national record holder, these are excerpts from a 2019 TEDx NSUT talk that began with an apology about messing up genders in Hindi. I used to play football as a kid, inspired by my dad, who's a local player. At Navodaya Vidyalaya, I got goals in a variety of events from long jump to shot put. My discipline and deportment came from early morning yoga classes. Which Arjuna awardee gave this talk that lasted considerably longer than 51.46 seconds?
I'm gonna guess Milkha Singh.
He says Milkha Singh, he misses the 100 points, and now for 150 with the erudites.
Is it PT Usha?
Well, the Master of Steels doesn't get it this time. It's now 200 points with the Wizards.
Is this Hima Das? I don't know, 2019, 51 seconds, like 400-meter race or something. Just a guess, Hima Das.
Everyone's blood is cold when they're answering. There's a lot of pressure, but look at the stuff they're coming up with. Hima Das, just a sigh of relief from the Kolkata Wizards, and Toda Patnaik tells you what it means to them. Wow, Shamana, I can barely begin to admire these people. They're so good under pressure. Who knows what you would have done if you were in the seat? All alone with no teammate, no one to discuss. All eyes on you. That's what quizzing is all about. That's what solo quizzing is all about. All right, at the end of 2 rounds, the Bengaluru Aces, who've been leading the league stage, who finished the league stage as winners, are right now in 4th place with just 200 points. So there's a bit of catching up to do for them. But the other 3 teams, neck and neck, the Wizards with 500 points, and both the Erudites and the Brainiacs with 550 points. We're only halfway through It's time, as always, to take a quick break, a strategic break. Teams will need it today more than ever because there are two fresh contestants coming in for each side. Anything could happen. You never know which contestant from which team could completely swing it for their team. 2 rounds to go, lots and lots of points on offer. We'll see you after a very short break. All right, welcome back everyone to the grand finale, the Super Cup of the ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth. We're midway through the quiz with 2 rounds to go. Let's take a look at how round 3 is going to play out today. Shabannoy, take it away.
Yes, round 3 is, of course, don't shoot the messenger. This is the special select round. 8 to 12 questions. This quiz, this is the Super Cup. This do not have a home advantage. This round goes anti-clockwise. Direct plus 200 if teams get or teams need a clue. They get a plus 100 if they're right, and passes for a flat 100 points just as the first round, but anti-clockwise. But before we start with the Bengaluru Aces, let's meet our celeb for the night. Dhruv, please do the honor.
So as you know, we of course welcome a celebrity guest for round 3 in every quiz. And today's special celebrity guest is one of Kolkata's favorite children, RJ Praveen Sethia, eminent radio jockey and multiple winner of India's RJ of the Year, deservedly so, one of the nicest people you'll meet, one of the most fun personalities to be around, and it is indeed a delight and honor to welcome him to throw 8 questions at the contestants in round 3. And who those 8 contestants are, we shall find out now. The Chennai Erudites will be represented by Orijit Mondol. Shubhadipta Basu returns to represent the Kolkata Wizards. Ankur Ghosh will represent the Delhi Brainiacs, and the Bengaluru Aces in round 3 will be fronted by Girish Suranje, another person who was there in the very first episode of the league stage and is there in the finale. Without further ado, let's take a look at the first question Praveen has. This one, of course, anti-clockwise, is for the Bengaluru Aces. Girish Suranje, your question coming up on screen now.
Who is this Padma Shri recipient who incorporates popular culture references in her works?
All right, you've got a photograph here of what looks to be a presentation ceremony. The question is quite simply, who is this Padma Shri recipient? Married to a fellow journalist and best-selling co-author. It's worth 200 points right now. If the Aces take a clue, it'll be worth 100 points. Yes, this is different from round 1. Your guess?
I'll answer Radhika Roy, the wife of Prannoy Roy.
He doesn't go for the clue. So for 200 points, he goes for it. He says Radhika Roy. He's wrong. So it passes now to Ankur Ghosh and the Brainiacs for 100 points.
Sagarika Ghosh.
He says Sagarika Ghosh. Girish, of course, has cost the other teams a second clue by going for it. Could be part of
This is Sucheta Dalal. She's married to Devashish Basu. So she wrote the book Scam 1992.
Shubhadipta Basu answers everything and more. Superb crack there. Sucheta Dalal, of course. This snapshot from Scam 1992, Shamanai, evidently one of your favorite shows.
Yeah, perfect. And what a brilliant making, right from the music and right from the story. Unbelievable. Okay. And of course, an unbelievable fairy tale points for Shubhadipta Basu as well. Okay. If morning shows the day, this should all well for him. Nonetheless, we move to Ankur Ghosh. This is direct for the Brainiacs. The first question on the screen for the Brainiacs.
Which father of a nation is seen here in one of the rare pictures tweeted by Anandolu Agency on his 79th death anniversary in November 2017?
All right, we've got a black and white photo over here. So for 200 points, the question for Ankur Ghosh, which father of a nation is seen here in one of the rare pics tweeted by the Anadolu Agency on its 79th death anniversary in November 2017?
I'll go for the clue.
He's gone for the clue for 100 points. He emancipated women, abolished all Islamic institutions, and introduced Western legal codes.
So is this Ataturk?
And alphabet. Ankur Ghosh goes for Ataturk. This is indeed Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, One would have to say this is, of course, one of the easier questions to crack on the direct.
Yeah, and Ankur makes no mistakes. That's 100 points for his team and goes to the lead very, very narrowly. Let's see if Shubhaditya can make the Wizards back into the lead. We will take it the next question, which should be direct to Shubhaditya Pasu and the Wizards. Let's hear it from Praveen.
This is a photograph. Look at this very carefully. From Ruishui Township, Hualien Country, Taiwan. What is this a marker for?
All right, so we've got a very interesting photograph of what looks to be some sort of an installation. This photo is from the Ruishui Township in the Hualien County of Taiwan. Quite simply, what does this structure mark? This is a direct for the Kolkata Wizards, currently in second place.
I'll go for a clue.
Doesn't risk the 200, goes for the 100. Second clue coming up on screen now. Albeit not so decorative, in India, such markers can be found in the Ran of Kutch and Madhya Pradesh, among other places.
The Tropic of Cancer.
And that takes the Wizards into the lead. This, of course, marks the Tropic of Cancer. And with that, Shubhaditya Basu takes a 50-point lead over the Delhi Brainiacs.
Okay, now it should be for the Chennai Elvids, who are currently on 550 points. They were remarkable in the last round. Let's see if Orijit continues the form.
Who is this legendary sportsperson? In her own words, this was the closest she could come to a Grand Slam trophy.
Okay, for 200 points, that'll take them into the lead. We've got a photograph of someone posing next to the trophy. Who is this legendary sportsperson? She mentioned how this was the closest she could come to a Grand Slam trophy.
I would take a clue.
He goes for a clue. All right, let's take a look. In 1976, she was awarded the gold medal of the hero of socialist labor by the then president, Nicolae Ceausescu.
Monica Seles?
He says Monica Seles. He's got the wrong country. It passes now for 100 points to the Aces, who are still on 200. They'll really want to get this right. Let's see what Girish Suranje has to offer. No answer forthcoming at this point. So it passes now to the Delhi Brainiacs. Does Ankur have an answer?
Pass.
He passes as well. 100 points for the Wizards on offer.
Nadia Comaneci. 1976 Perfect 10 Montreal Olympics.
Girish Suranje could break the nearest thing to him. Look at his expression. He knows he's missed this. Fantastic answer, of course. Nadia Comaneci, Romania, the country. All the clues were there, and the Wizards grab the 100 points that are on offer.
I think we'll, of course, see a repeat of what we just saw. So we will start with Girish Suranje again. The Bengaluru Aces, this is their second direct of this particular round. Let's hear it from Praveen.
Identify this Goan delicacy that is offered under the name jumping chicken to avoid trouble from activists.
All right, so we've got the photograph of a cooked dish on your screen. And the question is, in Goa, this item is offered under the name jumping chicken to avoid trouble from activists. Identify it.
I'll take a clue.
Okay. So it's now for 100 points. It's consumed during the monsoons by the Lepchas as well. Everyone thinking hard. Do we have a guess forthcoming?
I'll pass.
All right, the Ace is unable to get 100 points. It passes to Brainiac.
Some fried turkey.
Turkey is what they say. It's wrong. Now with the Wizards.
I'm gonna say frog. jumping, and it is consumed in lecture during monsoons when frogs come out.
This is superb quizzing from the Kolkata Wizard. These are, of course, frog legs, and you can see Kermit the Frog from, well, referencing, of course, the Muppet movie. Frog legs, frog legs. I remember that song so well, Shaman.
Indeed. Well, Shubhaditya is some kind of a form tonight. He's already on 900. This should be the direct to Ankur Ghosh. Let's hear it from the guest quizmaster.
To Milkha Singh's left is Dara Singh in this picture. Who is the person to his right?
All right, now we've got a photograph of three people. Two, of course, can be easily identified. To Milkha Singh's left is Dara Singh. Who is the person to his right? The one the red arrow is pointing to. That's it. That's all Ankur Ghosh has to go on for 200 points if he wants.
I'll answer. Is this Dhyan Chand?
Okay, we've got someone going for 200 points. The Brainiacs take a shot and it works. Fantastic answer. Dhyan Chand it is. And the Brainiacs now move to 850 points, just 50 points behind the Wizards. The Wizards don't want it, but I'm sure all the viewers watching this want it to be a close contest. It's great, of course, for the finale. However, it is now a direct question for the Kolkata Wizards. 200 points on offer if they can.
Who is this beloved children's character? The brainchild of an alliteratively named Italian who was actually stabbed by assassins and hanged halfway through the 1883 book.
Who is this beloved children's character? The brainchild of an alliteratively named Italian who was actually stabbed by assassins and hanged halfway through the 1883 book. Shouldn't be a difficult one, to be honest.
I'm gonna say Pinocchio. The Italian is Capello Combodi. Something his alliterative name I know. Yeah, so that's why. And his nose is long, so.
The Brainiacs went for 200. Why won't the Kolkata Wizards? No double cards, so might as well make up for it with a little bit of swag. Brilliant answer there. And look at that. We've got 1,000 points crossed in the Super Cup finale. The Kolkata Wizards on 1,100 points.
So we move to Orijit Pondul for the last and final question of this round, after which we'll take a look at the last set of 4 participants. But before that, here is Chennai Erudite's direct.
In 1959, where did the first daily monorail in the Western Hemisphere become functional?
All right, a bit of blanking out done in the photograph of a location. And as you just heard the question, in 1959, where did the first daily monorail in the Western Hemisphere become functional?
I will take a clue.
It's not going to be a 200-pointer. For 100 points, the erudites. Other events on 14 June that year included the opening of the Matterhorn bobsleds and the submarine voyage.
Zurich?
Zurich, he says, it passes for 100 points to the Aces. They desperately need it.
I'll guess Geneva.
Geneva is wrong, passes to Ankur Ghosh. Crucial 100 points here for them.
Is this Rome?
Rome, he misses out. The Wizards.
I guess Bonn.
All right, this passes out all the teams. This is Disneyland, of course. Had he managed to get that on the 200, he would have been on 750 and battling the Brainiacs to fight the Wizards. But as it stands, let's take a look at the scores. The Aces still on 200 points. Things looking tougher and tougher for them. On 550 points, you've got the Erudites, very much in with a chance. In second place, you've got the Brainiacs with 850 points. But currently in the lead, the Kolkata Wizards with 1,100 points. If you dial back to the auctions for the ProQuizzin League, you'll remember that the Kolkata Wizards, well, people were curious to know what their strategy was because they didn't seem to be going on a buying spree. They seem to be choosing very selectively and very intelligently and very limitedly all the players they needed and holding on to the rest for the 2x cards. Has that strategy paid off today? Well, the team's been managed, of course, by Somnath Chando, and let's see if that pays off. Let's move to the final round. This is, of course, the final frontier. Shamuna, let's take a look at the rules for this round as it stands.
Yes, so the last and final time, the final frontier, 8 questions anti-clockwise to the rest for each team as it has happened to the Super Cup so far. Well, the differential passing makes a return. For direct questions, they get a plus 100. Per pass, 100 plus 15 to number of passes. So the fourth team can get a potential 250 points in a single question. And as the scoreboard stands, some teams will desperately need that. We will of course start with the Bengaluru Aces once again, but before that, let's meet the 4 contestants for last and final time in ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth.
All right, the 4 contestants who will be taking us into the death overs of the Super Cup. Piyush Kedia from the Bengaluru Aces, who will be going first. The Delhi Brainiacs, represented by Naman Jain, Bishayan Bhattacharya representing the Kolkata Wizards, and G. Akshay for the Chennai Erudites. Some of these people have been in multiple quizzes in the league stage, and quite deservedly, being the excellent quizzes they have been chosen to handle the pressure of round 4 and perhaps secure a win for their teams. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the last 8 questions to decide the champion. Piyush Kedia, with a huge task on his hands to somehow take his aces from 200 to who knows where. Right now, it's a direct for him. The last of his kind, a brave and victorious patron of art, language.
Bahadur Shah Zafar.
And Piyush Kedia wastes no time.
The movie is Rangoon, I think. So he was exiled in Rangoon. I'm assuming Nasiruddin Shah played Ghalib, who was in Zafar's court, and that's all.
No messing about for the aces. They know they need points and they need them now, and they get them now. 100 points, Bahadur Shah Zafar. Superb answer from a superb quizzer there, Shamunna.
Yes, perfect. So, of course, the other 2 elements that Piyush didn't mention was, of course, one of them is Huni Darwaza, and that is William Hodgson, all referring to the 1857 Sepoy Mutiny of the First Indian War of Independence. Okay, so that was, of course, Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal emperor. We move to Naman Jain for his first of the 2 connect questions. Let's take a look at the Brainiacs question.
All right, we've got 4 elements which can be traced back to 15th century Persian soldiers. 3 photographs and an illustration of a series of objects. Can the Brainiacs piece them together to get 100 precious points? The Wizards are ready and waiting to grab 150 points if it comes on offer.
I don't have any idea. I'll just say Khanjar.
Khanjar is incorrect. Passes to the Wizards for 150 points.
I'll say Damascus steel or the Damascus swords.
Damascus swords, he says, not so. Passes now to the Erudites for 200.
I'll say Katana.
Katana, no. 250 points now with the aces. Big moment.
Pies or like Wedge Pie. I think that's the movie platform.
He says pies, so it passes out. Shamunna, let's take a look at the answer. This was a huge question. None of the teams managed to get it right.
Yeah, they got some part of the questions right though, but that will of course, yeah. So this is of course the hills or the high hills. So the Persian soldiers, some people say that it goes back to 10th century. Before that, Persian soldiers wore them to keep their feet in the stirrups when they stood up to fire bows from a charging horse. So all of these were high heels and types of high heels, which is predominantly a part of female fashion nowadays. The next question will be to Vishayan. Vishayan's first.
1/3 of an exhaustive list can be seen here. So we've got 4 photos out of 12 possible photos. What connects these 4 places? Part of an exhaustive list of 12. Wizards can really break away here if they get this direct.
So these are I'll say these are the Jyotirlingas. So I'll say like so these are the Shiva. So I think 16 Jyotirlingas are there. So 1/4 is 4. So there are 4. So I think Jyotirlingas.
His math is off. We just needed 4 out of 12. There are 12 Jyotirlingas. He gets it right. Doesn't matter how bad his math is. His trivia is perfect. These, of course, the 4 you see are Badrinath, Somnath, Rameshwaram, Mallikarjun. 8 more. Doesn't matter. 1,200 points. What a mountain to be on for the Kolkata Wizards. All right. Direct for the Chennai Erudites. An old cone that's also one of the new 7 wonders of the world. He wouldn't want to miss this because there's 250 points if it passes all the way to the Wizards.
Machu Picchu. I mean, that looks like Incan, and that is the only Incan thing I know.
He doesn't sound confident. He doesn't need to sound confident. He just has to get it right. Superb. 100 points there for the Wizards. Machu Picchu it is, Shamunai.
Absolutely. And those were the coca leaves. Because of its altitude, tourists are sometimes told to consume them mandatorily. Jigsaw puzzle, of course, the entire structure, the entire area, the entire field looks like a giant jigsaw puzzle. That was Hiram Bingham III, the discoverer, and that is the Inca King Pachacuti in Panki. All right, so all connecting to Machu Picchu, one of the new 7 wonders of the world, and a wonderful answer to end half of round 4. We start with Piyush Kedia once again for the aces.
Last 4 questions coming up. 300 points for the aces. 100 points on offer in this question. The most popular prison currency in the US. 4 photographs. Connect.
Ramen noodles. I'm assuming it was made in the Formosa Republic of Taiwan, and yeah, you can see the packaging there. I mean, on one image, and I don't know the guy. He took it to the moon. I'm assuming, or to space. I'm assuming.
Once again, Piyush answers very, very promptly, and once again gets 100 quick points. He's doing the best he can under the circumstances. Let's take a look at the connect and the answer, Shamunai.
Yeah, of course, it was instant ramen, the most popular prison currency in the US nowadays. It has replaced cigarettes. So that is Soichi Noguchi. And as Piyush explained, he took ramen to space. That was, of course, the Japanese occupied Taiwan, the Formosa Republic. Those are illegal ramen vendors of Tokyo. And the 4th one, in the clockwise direction, was Cup Noodles Museum in Osaka. So all pointing to instant ramen. Okay. So good 100 points for Piyush. We move to Naman Jain. The last question for the Daily Brainiacs. Let's take a look at Naman Jain's second connect question.
Remember, the Brainiacs can still win this. The aces can't. Let's take a look. A common membership which once included 1 in every 12 Americans. We've got 6 photographs there. Duke Ellington, Goethe, Casanova, Edwin Aldrin, Swami Vivekananda, and of course the Duke of Wellington. So the Brainiacs need to tell us what were they all a member of.
They were very widespread as it seems. Should be an easy one.
I'll say the Smithsonian.
Smithsonian is incorrect. Passes for 150 points to the Wizards. Everyone tense.
I say maybe these are roads named after. So they have roads named after them in America, like in American cities. Like there is a like street named after Vivekananda in Chicago. So I'm guessing that. So Rhodes name.
That is.
It's a good guess, but it's incorrect. It passes now to the Wizards for 200.
I'll say left-handed people.
He says left-handed. 250 points now with the Aces.
Akshay took my guess though. Colorblind people. Right?
And apart from Namanjan, nobody took the word membership very seriously. We were looking for a membership, not just a commonality. This one passes out. Let's take a look at the answer. What connects these 6 people and many, 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 many more?
It's as common as Freemasons. So all of them were Freemasons at one point in time. So you have Duke Ellington as well as the Duke of Wellington, Goethe, Casanova, Bazalgette, and Swami Vivekananda. Not quite the day for Namanjan, it seems. He's otherwise an absolute brilliant quizzer with the superb performances throughout ProQuizzin League. Well, with 2 more questions to go through, let's take a look at the scores.
Okay. Now, the Aces are on 400 points. They've done well to get the directs in this round, but it's not going to be enough to guarantee them the Super Cup. They stay on 400 points with 2 questions to go. With 650 points, we've got the Chennai Erudites. With 850 points, we've got the Delhi Brainiacs. Remember, there's still a chance. They can still win it with just 2 questions to go. But currently in the lead and looking all set to go home champions are the Kolkata Wizards with 1,200 points. And remember, the second last question is direct for them, so they can really seal the matter here. Let's not waste time. Everybody's at the edge of their seats. Let's go and take a look at the penultimate question of the Battle of the Youth. Who completes this list? Short question, 4 visuals. Over to Bishayon and the Wizards.
Okay, so I'll say this is Esther Duflo, and these are the youngest Nobel laureates in their fields. Yeah, so these are the youngest people in there. So Malala, I think, is the youngest peace laureate. That is, I think, Lawrence Bragg, and I think that is Planck. I'm not sure, not Planck. So I'm guessing Duflo.
Bishayon and the Wizards on a journey to capture the golden medal. 100 points. That takes them to 1,300, and that pretty much seals it for the Wizards. He knows it. The others know it, Shamanai. And what else can you say? It's been a superlative performance.
Yeah, totally all-rounded performance from the Wizards. That was Lawrence Bragg, Frederick Joliot, Malala Yousafzai, and Frederick Banting. All youngest recipients of the Nobel Prize in the respective categories. And that was Esther Duflo, had lots of Indian connections, lots of Calcutta connections, and they say. Okay, the last and final question for the ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth, which will end with Chennai Erudites. Let's take a look at G. Akshay's second question, second connect question here.
That's it. We're down to this one question. 4 photographs for G. Akshay to connect and get 100 points for the Erudites. If he doesn't and the Aces get it, they'll share 3rd place together, rather 4th place, well, 3rd and 4th place together. The Brainiacs, of course, would at least like to finish with 1,000 points. But right now it's with G. Akshay.
Okay, Paralympic Games.
Paralympic is his guess. It's incorrect. It passes now to the Aces for 150.
I'll say Mastermind. So I've started, so I'll finish is a very common phrase used by Magnuson. And that's the trophy, I think. BBC is the producer. Yeah.
And how fitting it is that a quizzing answer ends a quizzing extravaganza. The Bengaluru Aces grab 150 points. This is, of course, Mastermind, Shamanai. For the last time, let's take a look at the connect.
Yes, so that was, of course, Magnus Magnusson, Greg Musico with the 1980 trophy. John Humphreys and I have started, so I will finish all connecting to the BBC Mastermind, which was kind of conceptualized back in the POW days when he was kind of forced to sit and be interrogated during World War II. All right, we come to the end of a fantastic fortnight of quizzing. Some of the best and finest quizzers from across the country joining together from their homes to make ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth a huge, huge success. We will, of course, come back with an on-ground real edition sometime soon. This has been presented by Knowledge app. One can always go to the Google Play Store and download and play the quizzes. Look at the smile on Vishal's face, but for the last and final time, let's take a look at the final scores through.
All right, for the final time, the score sheet. The Bengaluru Aces, after having played magnificently through the league stage and winning the league stage, fortunately end up in 4th place with 550 points. Just above them, the Chennai Erudites, who put in some fantastic performances with some of the most brilliant answers throughout the series, 650 points to them. They end up in 3rd place. The Delhi Brainiacs today, well, 850 points would be a terrific score on any other day. Not good enough, but of course, commendable performance, superb quizzing today. But the story of the moment, the grand winners of the Super Cup in the ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth. Put your hands together for the Kolkata Wizards, who end with 1,300 points. Daylight between them and the other teams. They've stamped their authority on this finals, and they're taking the cup and making it their own. Well, everyone, it's been an absolutely sparkling fortnight, as Shaman said. We've seen some amazing quizzing moments. This is just exactly representative of the kind of highs and lows and nail-biting moments that quizzing is all about. Remember, all these participants have been playing alone. They've played solo, they've played alone, they've handled all the pressure well, and that's why we're calling them some of the finest young quizzing minds of the country. With the holiday season coming up, we wish all of you a very, very safe and prosperous remaining part of the year. We hope you've enjoyed the ProQuizzin League Battle of the Youth. There's, of course, lots and lots more to come from here. Big round of applause to all the participants. Thank you, Shamanai. Thank you to all the organizers. It's been an absolute delight for me. I hope to see all of you all in another competition sometime in the future. Until then, take care. Farewell.